Dan, you're an accomplished photographer who has recently been featured in the Atlantic Current photography issue. As an approved Getty Images contributor, your work has reached a wide audience, showcasing your exceptional talent and eye for detail. In addition to your photography career, you train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which adds another layer to your creativity and your disciplined lifestyle. But what I want to know is, do you consider yourself creative?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, for the most part, certain things. Depends on what it is. Yeah, I'd say I am. Yeah. When it comes to like photography, I try to be, or, when it comes to like drawing and art and all that, can't do it. I can see it, but then when I go to do it, it looks like a fifth grader did it.
Dude, isn't that crazy?
It's the most annoying thing ever.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, my whole life, I kind of have always known that I've been drawn to creativity, just like, I don't know, it's like a fast, active mind, personality sort of thing too. And then like falling into music when I was 10, and then kind of discovering just photography as I've been kind of in this like world of being a musician, representing myself too. But then when it comes to like painting and art and stuff like that, it's exactly, I just like all my fingers become thumbs and just doesn't work out.
My handwriting is terrible. No matter how hard I try to make it nice, it still is awful. It's like I'll look at it and be like, oh, wow, I wrote that pretty nice. And someone else will see it and be like, you have terrible handwriting. And you're like, you're right, I do, but like, that's good for me, though.
But beauty's in the eye of the beholder, as you know, being a photographer yourself. So, I mean, dude, even speaking of that, and first of all, thanks for sitting down.
Yeah, no, of course, man. Thanks for having me, dude.
I don't have anybody over, and I think you are even the first photographer
Whoa.
I've had in my conversations of Create to Connect. Dude, so...
Well, I'm honored.
And how legit of you, a photographer that you are, you even brought... What'd you bring?
My XT3 with 23 f2 WR. 23 millimeters, not my favorite focal length for APS-C, though.
Yeah.
Because I'm used to shooting 50 mil when I shot film a lot. And so a 23 is the equivalent of like a 35, which I've never really shot with. So, and I have this is the thing that annoys me about Fuji's cameras so much, is like, all right, if this 23 millimeter is the equivalent of a 35 on a full frame, just put 35 on it. Why put 23 on it? Because I have to tell everybody now, it's a 23 millimeter, but it's the equivalent of a 35 on a full frame.
Do you think it's just to be different?
I don't know.
Like they have their own thing? Because I've always wondered that too.
I couldn't tell you what the deal is.
Yeah.
And it just annoys me so much that it's just like, why not just, you could just do it that way.
Yeah.
You could just label it 35. You don't have to, because I have a 35 millimeter lens, but the 35 is the equivalent of a 50-ish around.
So 50 millimeter is kind of like the first lens like that you were working with? It's funny because the first one I really was working with was an 85.
Oh, wow.
So the first camera and first lens I just bought was, and I didn't even realize zoom. I didn't realize anything. This was the lens I was got, and I just made it work. So it taught me so much how to just run around because I mean 85 you're so compressed that way. So I mean shooting at Quantapanas.
Right. Yeah.
Which was also kind of the best because that level of compression too made everything look so nice, but also I was able to kind of go all the way down to 1.8, so I had really nice lighting too. But some other photographers and videographers make fun of me. They're like, "Oh, there's Jacob running around in the bush just trying to get the shot," because I'm just like I just got so used to looking at 85 and then just trying to make it work to my advantage, and then you just kind of go back forth.
Yeah.
But dude, no. So I can relate to what you're saying. But I mean, dude, photography. How'd you fall into it? How'd you get into it?
Well, I kind of always wanted to do photography when I was younger. Like, also, how close should I be with this to my face?
Make 2-3 fingers. I mean, like, the closer.
I've never had to hold a mic to my face before, so.
So like, I kind of do like this, like 2 fingers. Like the closer, the better. But I mean, this is a judgment-free zone. I mean, it's not like Planet Fitness, but I
was just about to say,
fuck
if
Planet
I drop
Fitness.
something, is the lunk alarm gonna go off? Or
dude.
Okay,
If you drop something, I just hope it doesn't break. But
okay, thank goodness.
No.
Actually, dropped this the other day, but I'm gonna talk about it.
Dude, I dropped that on your way here. I dropped that when the battery didn't connect. So I mean, but luckily nothing broke and no lunks here.
Oh, that's good. I had a really cheap lens on this when I dropped it, and it landed on the lens, and the lens was fine. And I was like, thank God.
That reminds me, I was actually doing a shoot with Sierra Lane. Now her band is
yeah.
Daylily. believe. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember things. But anyways, I was doing a shoot with her. She was at the beach. I was like blowing rock. I had a 7200 with an ND filter on. I was trying to do this long exposure thing, and my buddy, shout out to Gio, was kind of filming some BTS stuff. And I turn around as I was talking to him, not realizing the tripod wasn't really kind of in. That fucker just starts falls right. I gotta find it. I'll send you the clip. Falls right into the sand, but hits a rock, and I hear a crack, and I'm like, my 7200, no. The ND filter took all the heat. So
Yeah, dude.
Blessed.
That's why any lens that I have that can have a filter put on it, I put a filter on it.
And I've learned that through being an idiot. Well, for moments like that where I'm like, that's kind of important.
Like, I have a friend who's like 20 years older than me. He's an architect photographer, Daniel Newcomb.
Cool.
He's phenomenal, actually. Really accomplished photographer.
In the area?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Actually met him at Respectable Street during Bumblefest.
Oh,
he
yeah.
had a Leica Q2, and I was like, is that Leica? And he's like, oh, yeah, it is. But, you know, we were out shooting something once, and I was like, and he bumped his camera, and I was like, oh, you don't have a lens filter on there? He goes, this is a $5,000 lens. I'm not putting a $50 lens filter on it. I was like, hey, fair enough. Fair enough. Some people think it'll mess up the image quality, and like maybe it does to a certain extent, but I do not have I don't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
So
a true artist.
And that this
relates.
is not an expensive I bought this brand new.
Yeah.
It was like $450, right? Ooh, that's my phone.
I was
Sorry.
gonna say, was that my laundry?
No, I have it. My phone makes a Game Boy sound when it. But
The nostalgia hit me for a
Yeah.
second. That's no, you're saying.
But yeah, so this lens new was like $450, right?
Yeah.
I bought it new. If it broke, I still wouldn't be able to get a new one for a while. So I don't want it to break, you know?
Oh, okay, exactly.
But yeah. So but then you had asked about I think how I got into photography.
Yeah, kind of how you got into it.
So I think around like 12th grade, I think I had started to want to do photography because I had seen like other kids I go to school with doing it, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, you know? But I didn't know anything
Are
about
they doing
it.
film?
No, just
digital?
Just
Yeah.
digital, I guess.
Yeah.
And then my cousin Joe came down, and he had some kind of Canon digital camera. I don't remember which one. And I was like, oh man, this thing's dope. Like, I want a camera. And I eventually bought the T3i Rebel I was telling you about before we started.
Mm-hmm.
And I had it for a little bit, but then I kind of just like never really got into it. I didn't really know what I was doing, and I just like shot everything on auto, you know? And then years go by, and like I no longer have the camera, and then I'd started seeing film get popular again, like around 2020, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh dang, I want a film camera, but I just was gonna get like one of those like you know, like those Kodak.
Like a point and shoot?
Like the ones that are free focus and they're like reusable disposable cameras.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
To a certain extent.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. And so I was going to go get one of those, but they were like $60. And I was like, I don't know if I want to spend $60 on something just like stupid like this.
Yeah, right.
Right? This isn't even a real camera. But then I was at Jupiter Medical Center thrift store and I saw a Pentax K1000.
That place is clutch, by the way.
I have gotten so many good deals from there, bro.
Dude, pro tip, for sure. Anyone listening?
That's
the spot.
No, it's not.
I mean, no.
Don't go there.
No, it's not. We gatekeep here.
No, it's
Wink.
I haven't been there in a while, but in the last few times I have gone there, they didn't really have anything. So I think because film camera stuff has died down or whatever. But they also were raising their prices too. They got wise to the film camera thing because I was going in there every day and buying a camera. But yeah, so Pentax K1000. It had I think like a Rokinon, like 28 millimeter f2.8, and it was a macro lens. I bought it for like $35, and then, you know, later that night I was like, hold on a second, there is a camera bag right next to this in the display case. So I went back the next day, and turns out that camera bag had like 2 more lenses in it.
Snap.
And a Pentax P30T, and also, like, I guess they kind of went together, actually, because the manual for the K1000 was in that bag. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I bought it. It was like $75. So then I got a 50 mil, like a Pentax SMC 50 mil f2, and like some like random miscellaneous brand, like zoom lens that was also a macro lens, but it had like a dead bug inside of it.
Could you get the bug out?
I don't know. I never tried. I never tried to take apart lenses because
Right.
it's too complicated for me. I don't want to mess it up. Even though this is not an expensive lens, but it still takes good pictures regardless of having a dead bug in it. You don't even notice it.
Dude, it's got some nice character to it.
Yeah, pretty much, dude. Dead moldy bug character, fungus bug. It's not a mold. It's not mold. I've been corrected on that on not Instagram, Reddit.
They
were like, it's not mold, it's fungus, bro. I was like, oh,
that's where the professionals live.
my bad, bro. But yeah, so that was my first film camera. The meter in it didn't work because the common issue amongst
And they never work.
K1000s is the battery wire gets corroded and then it doesn't work. The meter doesn't work. Another common issue with them that I had and I had to fix it. I only found like one video. This is how you know it's like a very like niche thing you're trying to find or fix. Is that
I think is that my K1000?
yours was in there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a Emmy Super. I have one of those too.
Ah.
Yeah, I got a really good deal on my Emmy Super, but it's beat up, but it works.
I got a nice wall of just old cameras.
I know, I see that.
Right there.
Yeah.
But,
I really want to take a look at all of those. But
we will.
what was I saying? Yeah, so one thing with the K1000s is the mirror on so slow shutter speeds, the gears, if they're not used for a while, will gum up. And so on the slower shutter speeds, the mirror will flip up, but then it won't have enough inertia to flip back down.
So it gets like stuck.
So it gets stuck. And that happened to me. And like I was saying, you know, it's a really like esoteric like thing you're trying to look up when the person's English is not their first language.
Yeah.
Which, like, fair enough. My dad's an immigrant, you know, whatever. English isn't their first language, and it's like very like not even 720p video that you're looking at.
Yeah.
And it was one video that I found that fixed the problem that I had. And he's like, oh, you just remove the bottom plate and put very light oil on these two gears.
The best.
And then it fixed it. I bought like bike chain oil from that bike shop over here in
Bikes?
Chasewood.
J-Town Bikes?
No, not J-Town Bikes. The one that's in Chasewood, but that was in Chasewood that closed down.
Shit, I know what you're talking about, but
Yeah.
I can't think of it. Yeah.
By like First Watch and BurgerFi.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
It closed down now. It's not there anymore.
Yeah.
But I bought like the lightest bike chain oil that they had. I put like the smallest little needle tip of a drop on these two gears. Cycled it a couple of times and then it started working. And then haven't had a problem with it since then.
Hallelujah.
I call it old reliable.
Dude, whole reliable,
Yeah.
and it's good that you got the right video. Because dude, sometimes just trying to Google and research to find a particular problem, I feel like I'm spending hours just skimming through. I'm like, I might as well have just spent that time just trial and error and putting some actual action into it. But man, your dad's an immigrant?
Yeah, he's from Iran.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he moved here just before the revolution.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, his mom and his older brother moved here, and then he eventually came, but his dad stayed. His parents got divorced, and his dad stayed in Iran, and he moved over here. So yeah.
Gee, so just kind of going back, so senior year of high school, kind of really got the creative itch for some photography, and about like 20, and then from there, kind of doing some digital photography, and then 2020, that's when you're kind of like, oh, I'm gonna try some film.
Yeah. Well, no, actually. So I had the camera and I took a few photos with it, but then I just like put it away and never used it again.
Right.
And then, like, when I was like 21, I started dating this girl, and like we were together for 4 years, and she was going to school for graphic design and
cool.
photography. Digital photography was one of her courses, and she needed to use a camera. I was like, oh, I have this, you use it. And then we ended up breaking up, and like I couldn't find the camera for years. I was like, where the hell is my camera, dude? I want to get back into photography. Where is this thing? And I would like tear my house apart trying to find it every now and again and could never find it. And then one day, we hadn't spoken in like years. And I just texted her. I was like, hey, do you know where my camera is? And it turns out she gave it away to somebody when she was on a trip to Ecuador.
Oh.
Which kind of like annoyed me a little bit
Stings
because
a
I was
little
like,
bit.
you know, it's not your camera, and you still, one, didn't give it back to me, and then two, gave it away to someone because they were like, oh, I want to be a photographer.
Right, yeah.
And so she just gave it to them. And I was like, all right,
It's a tough pill to swallow, but
Yeah.
in the beauty of the gift of photography, it's almost kind of thinking like, you know what, whoever has that
Yeah.
camera now, I
Yeah.
hope that inspiration
Right.
enlights them. I hope they touch and feel
Yeah.
and just be like, you know what, it smells like Dan.
Exactly.
I must return
Exactly.
it to him.
And you know, I basically just paid $1,000 to never have to deal with her again. So
Yeah,
there you go.
There you go. cost worth going forward.
And
for.
let's be real. I probably wouldn't have taken really good pictures. I would have taken crap pictures with it.
Yeah.
Is what I'm trying to say is, you know, because I didn't know anything about photography back then either. So I would just set everything to auto and then just never
I'm
learn.
glad you brought that up because I was just about to say, and that's kind of how I really started paying attention more and just getting comfortable with the camera. And that's kind of like from being a guitar player and musician, and when I used to kind of sell guitars too, my biggest thing was just like, especially playing an acoustic guitar, how does it feel? Does this feel comfortable to you? And I originally bought a Canon 80D, which crop sensor, and I remember shooting with a bunch of Sony shooters, and then just feeling the mirrorless camera, the body, and then just kind of like the dynamic range and some of the
Yeah.
stuff that I didn't really understand, but couldn't put into words, but I saw it, and I was just like, man, like I kind of want like an A7. And one of my buddies, Adam Doom, actually was the one that said, "It's like, if you're gonna pick a team, make sure you stick with it and make sure you go full
Yeah.
force." I'm like, what do you mean? It's like the lenses don't really match up with anything else, and then also you want something native to the body. So I'm like, okay. And then got a Sony, and then just learning like the sweet three of ISO, aperture, shutter speed. But I could see the shots that I wanted, so yeah, I just put the thing on auto and then went to town. All the way to the point where I shot with one of my other photographer friends that I really looked up to. Her name's Carly Snapping Necks. I don't know if you've seen her stuff. Some of
I'll
the
have to
best,
look her up.
some of the best concert photography ever. I remember shooting with her. She's like, "Are you shooting on auto?" I'm like, "Yes." She's like, "No,
Nah, dog.
don't do." And
Don't
then,
be doing that.
But it was like a very nice push for me to kind of get out of my box and try something. But it was I always recommend that to people where they're like they almost get discouraged because I remember trying to shoot band stuff and then like the shutter was too low, but then
Yep.
like the ISO trying to compensate for that, and then you put it on the computer in Lightroom, like everything looks like shit. So but like auto, I was like able to kind of get the shot, I'll be a little bit happy with it and move on to the next
Right.
thing. So it's just a nice, easy, gradual way to kind of grow.
Yeah. And certain times I'll use like aperture priority or pretty much aperture priority,
Yeah.
and that's it. But a big thing with photography is knowing what you're exposing for. And you know this,
Yeah,
but like for people,
I'd love for you to
for
like
people
expand,
who don't
yeah.
know it, is like if you have a scene that has a lot of shadows and highlights and, you know, half the person's face is in shadow and half the person's face is in highlight, if you expose for the side of their face that's in shadow, the highlight might be too bright. But if you expose for the highlight, then you're going to have the shadow and you might not be able to see their face. But sometimes that's what you want. And so knowing what to expose for is very big because, you know, and that's why I don't shoot on auto, because I feel like I have better control of what I'm exposing for when I'm shooting manual or aperture priority, especially when I'm using a mirrorless camera where I can see my exposure before I'm taking it.
Huge.
So, and then also with RAW files, like I remember the first time I edited a RAW file coming from film and like editing like TIFF files or like
Yeah.
JPEGs sometimes, you know, if I didn't get TIFF scans, whatever. But, and I was like, and I had to take this like picture of my cat, just like, and she was backlit. And the picture wasn't even that good, but I was just like editing it I had just gotten this camera. And then I was like, oh my God, you can adjust it that much?
I know, crazy.
I was like, what?
Great. There's so much you can do with a raw file.
I was like,
I
holy
mean,
shit.
you get the size for it though. Which,
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
you gotta have that
whatever.
storage, but it's no, it's insane. Because I know people who shoot in JPEG, and I'm like, no, shooting RAW is like the file
Yeah.
size is too big. But I'm like,
Yeah.
what you're trying to do, and to kind of even like, I want to add to your points, like if you have intention and know how to kind of explain what you're doing, and it's not it just being so random and just happy accidents leading you into a certain point, because you're gonna get to a point, and then you're gonna come to some sort of I don't want to say crossroads, it's a little dramatic, but like you're going to come to a situation and not really know what to do because you've been just kind of like pissing in the wind a little bit more and more. That's kind of how I was with auto until I hit my point where someone challenged me. It's like, hey, why don't you try shooting manual? Try that. And then I remember going to aperture priority for a bit. So, and I know a lot of like really serious wedding photographers will go from aperture priority just because it's such a run and gun hostile situation. And dude, it's just funny how people got a lot to say. It's like, if you don't shoot manual, you're not a real photographer. But it's like, tell it to the work and the success those people have. And
I think it depends on the situation. If you're doing something like sports photography or wedding photography where it's very high, fast-paced, high energy, and a lot of stuff going on, then shooting auto can be very beneficial because, as someone's sprinting downfield towards you, having autofocus and all your settings be auto so you get a good exposure is very useful. But, and also I try to be more like artistic than commercial work.
Dude, that's what I love about your stuff. And some of my friends have even kind of mentioned, like, do you know who this guy is? I'm like, yeah, dude, I do. And I describe your work, it's almost like, it's very journalistic photography.
Oh, thank you.
And it's very soul in the moment. It's stuff that, like, you've probably seen the walkie-talkie talks.
I love walkie-talkie, dude.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
love walkie-talkie.
I see you in that style very much so. And it's cool because, I mean, just like, dude, my relation to you is, I remember seeing the homie Brett at a show, and I just see you, and you're like, oh, what's up, man? I'm like, hey. And I'm like, I think, yeah. And then I just see with your flash, it's just kind of going in, boom, boom. I'm like, Jesus. And I'm like, this guy's getting the shot. But you were mindful of your decisions, too. You're aware of your surroundings, and you kind of carried yourself in a certain way, too, where I'm like, this guy, one, knows what he's doing, kind of is just not really just being, I don't know, some photographers, I feel like it's very almost like they're too much into it where it becomes almost like of a selfish action.
Yeah.
Which is fine in certain, I mean, I can relate to that too, but especially if you're like live photography, there's other people trying to watch the show too. It's at night, you're rocking a flash, you're up in the front row too. You're not there the whole freaking time. You got some killer shots pulled back and stuff, but and then also seeing the work after, I'm like, these are really cool. And it's different. I mean, it's not the typical stuff that you see on social media where there's like such a style and fad, and you kind of see, I mean, like a couple years ago, teal and orange was everything. And then even like double exposures, and then now it's like all this stuff's kind of coming back, but it's like, I feel like you really have like a journalistic integrity.
Thank you.
Of some to your work.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I can try to consider myself a documentary photographer, which maybe I don't exactly fit that description, and I'm okay with that.
But why do you say that then?
Because sometimes when I'm editing things like music photography, maybe I'll take some artistic liberties with like contrast and things like that. And I, to my knowledge, in documentary photography, they try to make it as real as authentic as it was.
To add to that, because I relate to that. I always try to just keep everything authentic and real, just because of the day and age that we live. So if I see like just something in the scenario, like even if it's like a huge fucking wad of gum that's just like such an eyesore where my eyes are like in the corner, if I can just kind of mask over that and just take that out, that's fine. But I'm not trying to manipulate certain like people's smiles, take people out of scenarios. But kind of like that.
Now that sort of thing, where it's like something minor and unsightly, like I Respectable Street, for example. I love going there, but they have this ugly projector in the middle of the ceiling on stage
that's what I'm talking
to
about.
Project their backgrounds, and sometimes I'll just like, that's not there anymore.
Exactly, yeah.
That sort of thing I'm all right with.
Yeah,
But when you're taking multiple images and you're combining them together to get an image that, like, none of that stuff was there in real life, like these photos where the moon is gigantic in the background of a building, and like, yeah, sure, that can happen sometimes, but like, we know that that's not how that was.
Dude, I can relate to that so much. I mean, I that's exactly my approach too, where I'm like, dude, I just fucking get rid of that sort of thing. But a lot of people I know that do professional wildlife photography, and I remember I was asking one of my friends, just like permitting and just kind of like the legality and laws for certain stuff too, as I was getting more into a certain niche of a particular job I was doing, and they were telling me that. They're able to look at a photo, especially of like sea turtles, and they're like, I can always tell when someone's moving shit around, and it's horrible and it's illegal.
Yeah.
But it's stuff like that where people are trying to manipulate certain stuff where it's like, I don't know. Like I think for stuff it's like you move.
Right.
You kind of figure it out.
Exactly. There will be times where I'll say to somebody, like, I mean, obviously not a musician on the stage, but like a friend of mine or something, or like one of my sister's kids I'm taking a photo of, I'll be like, oh, do that again.
Yeah.
And then I'll take a photo of it. But for the most part, I don't do that, especially when I'm using, like you were mentioning, my flash. I like to use my fisheye lens and flash.
It's so sick.
When I'm out a lot because I usually just set the fisheye to like f8, which then everything is in focus.
Yeah.
And then I just use the flash to get around basically not having enough light.
Yeah.
And so I don't even have to wait for the autofocus at all, which autofocus takes like 2 seconds sometimes. But like, you know, I just hold it up, click, and then I move my camera back down.
It gives it such a look. I mean, even going like back to like, I don't know, like early 2010s era, I feel like a lot of stuff with like van surf skate style with after party stuff, you know what I mean, with a fisheye and just going to party, everyone's just like, hey, sort of thing. That was like a look, and it's almost has like a nostalgia feeling to it too, where it's your excuse too. It's like, get together, boom. I love that shit.
Whenever I'm at like again, respectable street, or like hanging out with my friends, or we're at a club, whatever, and I just always bring my camera with me. Like, where am I going that I don't have this with me? I've even gone to like the doctor's office and had my camera with me. And they're like, what are you? I'm a photographer. I always gotta have it with me. But except when I go to work, I don't have it with me. But like, I always have it with me. And if I'm going to somewhere I know it's gonna be like tightly packed, fisheye, flash, always on. And I just, you know, you get great pictures like that. And like, I hate having to focus, so that's nice. You know, you're zone focusing, so you may not always get like the sharpest, crispiest, you know, edges, but I also don't care about that sort of thing. And you don't really have to worry about like motion blur too much because you're shooting at your flash sync speed usually, which on my X-T3 is 2/50th of a second. So you're not gonna have to worry about that, and also flash helps freeze movement too, so you're good. You're good.
When did it take you to get to like how? I'm trying to word the question right, but comfortability with a flash. I know some people avoid it. I know some people just wait till they like feel like they have to use it and they have no kind of reason. People are kind of scared with just even on camera or off camera flash. I know I was kind of starting off, so I don't know with you if they're just like, I need a flash, got a flash, figure it out. I don't know if you have any tips or advice for people trying to.
Well, I only use flash when I feel like I need to. And I really only feel like I need to when I'm using my fisheye, because otherwise I'll just crank my ISO up, and I usually shoot black and doing black and white work, so you don't see all that ugly color noise that you would. Like, I still maybe will do some noise reduction or whatever, but I also don't care that much if I have somewhat of a noisy image. But I started using flash when I was using film. I was shooting at Revolution Live. One of my friends had asked me to go shoot there, and
it's a fun venue to shoot.
It was awesome. And I only had a film camera at the time, and so I was like, all right, manual flash metering, like, here we go, bro. And I had done it before, and it wasn't that hard to, because people think it's hard to manually flash meter with a film camera. It's not. It's not. All the flashes, almost all of them, have a table on the back of the flash that says, if you're at this ISO and this is the distance that you're focused to, use this aperture. And so you just go like, all right, at this spot, I'm focused on that guy on stage. He's about like, you look at the hyperfocal scale on your lens. You're like, oh, he's about like 5 feet away. Okay, I'll use f8 or whatever, you know, and you just take your picture. And then for me, I was like, oh, well, film handles overexposure better than under, right? And most negative films do. So I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to overexpose everything by one stop. And then I know that, like, it'll always be good. So if I'm focused and I really should be at, like, f8, but I'm at f5.6, I'm going to be like, who cares? I'm still gonna take this picture.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna worry about adjusting my aperture because like it's gonna take too much time.
So it's like pretty much like a little bit of patience,
Yeah.
and then just kind of slow down for just a little bit, and then just kind of really kind of get into like a nice little flow.
Exactly. And then my thing with flash too is I feel like if someone doesn't want me hitting them with a flash, they'll tell me.
Yeah.
And if they don't tell me, guess what, brother? You're gonna get hit with the flash. Like
That's a good point. As long as like you're a little bit polite with it too, sort of thing. I mean, it's just that's kind of what the
Right.
nature of the beast a little bit. I mean, that's when I started really getting a lot of like food, culinary stuff. I knew off-camera flash for particular stuff.
I love
was
off-camera.
so important. So I found the Westcott company. That like I have like a lot of their flashes, and I know I'm so run and gun most of the time with just like pretty much my way of life.
Yeah.
There's certain flashes where like, and also I know a lot of explanations on YouTube, which is way over explained, way over complicate things. So found a flash I liked, and just kind of exactly what you said. Just kind of took some time, and I'm like, this. Okay, now I'm gonna adjust the sync speed of my camera compared to the flash. I'm gonna adjust the flash power. I'm gonna adjust kind of like I'm gonna move this light over here, and then just rinse and repeat, and then just changing a little things here and there to make it work.
And I'll be honest, I shoot TTL flash. I don't care.
Dude, yeah, every professional wedding photographer is practically doing that too, because they're running like once all the serious stuff's kind of done and the party's there. Boom, boom.
Especially when I'm out, like having a good time with my friends or shooting a show or something like that. I'll adjust the strength of the flash by like a stopper, but I won't go into like manual flash mode because maybe I'm a little dumb and it's too complicated for me. I don't know, but TTL is just also easier.
But dude, right there in the moment, you're like,
I don't have
this. This is the moment that's not going to come back. So I'm going to get this.
And if it's a little bit over or a little bit under, I'm going to be editing these. So I don't care that much.
Yeah.
Whether it's a little bit under or a little bit over. Like I've had pictures that were kind of dark, and I was like, ooh, looking at it on the back of my camera, like, ooh, that doesn't look too good. But then I put it into Adobe Lightroom, I adjust it, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm happy with this.
Yeah, there's a couple shots where I've done the strobe flash on my camera, and it's just favored so much one side, so it was just pretty much like half there, half that, and then all you got to do is just fucking go to Lightroom and kind of do the rest of the work. But from like your kind of journalistic documentary style photography, and then even the stuff that you kind of do with like live shows and stuff. So your journey of being a photographer, I mean, dude, even I don't know if it's like imposter syndrome or what. It took me a while to even like just identify myself as a photographer for some reason. Because I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've done so many different things, and then even it wasn't until like the book deal where I had to like actually say confidently in the film, like, yes, I'm a photographer. Yes, I'm a professional.
Yeah.
Yes, all this stuff. But and then also finding like my style and doing a bunch of different stuff. But with you, it's cool to see something, and it's very identifiable to the photographer too. But I was wondering, what was your journey like getting to that point?
I think once I got a mirrorless camera and I started shooting a lot more, and then when people started like, not that I'm like a big fan, big time, but like locally, bands would be like, I'd be hanging out with them, and then they'd introduce me to someone else and be like, oh, you know, such and such pictures from XYZ venue, and they'd be like, oh yeah, the black and white, and they'd be like, yeah, he took those, and they'd be like, oh wow, those were amazing. You know, when people started recognizing my work, then that's when I kind of felt like I could be like, oh yeah, you know, I'm a photographer.
What made you go to the band stuff though? I mean, because I mean, you're rocking Red Hot Chili Peppers, so obviously you get some good taste in music. Dude. Boom,
love them.
Love
the Chili Peppers.
3 of their songs.
I mean, obviously Under the Bridge. See, I'm drawing Airplane. Love Airplane, and then This Velvet Glove, I think it is, or Grove.
Okay,
comes to mind, but.
I always ask everybody that. I'm like, they see a band shirt, name 3 songs.
No. See, being put on the spot, definitely.
Dude, it sucks,
you're like,
yeah.
But no, I do love them. I've listened to them so much, and even their newer albums where people are like, it's not that good.
Nah,
it's
dude,
like, shut up.
Yeah,
you don't know what you're talking about. It's awesome.
Shut up and enjoy it, man.
Exactly.
I was at brunch with a bunch of friends, and my friend and his wife came. They kind of came late. She was wearing a Guns N' Roses shirt. Before we even said anything, she's like, nope, not naming 3 songs. I don't know. Cool shirt.
Yeah.
Anyways, hi, everybody. I'm like, fucking classic. But no, I mean, so how'd you kind of get into like the band photography stuff? I mean, my journey's obviously easy. I'm a musician. Want to pick that up. Kind of just coming to shows, hanging out with friends.
I think the first time I ever did music photography was when I was still shooting film. Destiny, Babe Honey, they had played at Bumblefest, and so I was like, "Oh, cool! You're gonna be there? Like, cool! I'll come hang out, watch, and I'll take photos. Like, why not? I wanted to."
Yeah.
So I took some photos of her, and then like that was my first time doing it.
So that was your first time like ever shooting like a live band?
Yeah,
Wow.
was
That's
with that.
That's special.
Yeah,
Destiny's
and then
fucking awesome.
yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, she was my wedding singer.
Oh no,
Yeah,
no
yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Destiny's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Babe Honey's also a killer. So
She's got a great voice. But and then I shot her at Guanabanas once, and Trash Panda had played there. I think that's
Yeah.
when I met you there.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Um,
Epic show.
that was a great show. And then like a time went on, whatever. And then I had gotten an XT2, but it had like a malfunction. I sent it back and got an XT3. But like in between that time was when one of my friends, also named Danny, not Daniel Newcomb, the other guy. This is a different Danny, right? I have two friends named Daniel.
My dad's named Dan.
Jesus, is he also a photographer?
No.
Well,
But my middle name's Daniel.
hey, well there we go. But he said, "Oh, dude, come to Revolution Live. Like, I got a band hired me. Like, come, bring your camera if you want to." I think he didn't expect me to bring like the full kit, but I did. And so
Come correct, baby.
that's right, brother. Always. And I had shot it on film because that's all I had at the moment. And then he had a GFX. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I think the first time I shot with Danny, was it? Yeah, no, the first time before this, sorry, I went to Gramps with him, and Mustard Service was headlining.
That's in Miami, Gramps?
Yeah,
Okay.
in Wynwood.
Yeah.
And I shot with him there, and he like, I don't know how he got me backstage. He had like a second backstage wristband, and that like I must have been used already, but he
Yeah.
like tied it on my wrist, and I was just like, don't look at the tied part. And then I got backstage, and not that Gramps is that big of a venue anyway, but like, so I shot that on film. I never got any of that film developed for whatever reason.
Is it still sitting?
Yeah, I still have it. I shot a roll of Lomochrome purple on that night too, so it's probably gonna look like garbage, but I like Lomochrome purple.
So,
It's just not when I shoot. But,
initially
yeah.
shooting live music, it was just kind of off a whim from
Yeah.
Destiny playing at Bumblefest.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But do you have any kind of relation to bands, music? You play music yourself?
Nope.
Any passion in that? Wow.
I love music.
Yeah.
I love music. I love listening to music. You know, can I play an instrument? Not to save my life. So,
What kind of music do you like?
I mean, I don't want to just be that person that's like, oh, you love everything, you know.
Dude, I love everything
But
too.
I do.
Yeah.
I
No, but,
love-
like, what's some recent stuff you've been listening to?
So Brett actually turned me onto this band called The Countryside of Harmonica Sam.
You could have just said that. I would have been like, did Brett show you that?
Yeah, and it's like they're very, very like classic, old school country music, and I fucking love them, and I've been listening to them so much. But then there's also this weird band that I've been listening to called Warm Doucher.
Warm Dude, sure.
Yeah, and but they're awesome.
Are they from Australia?
I have no idea where they're from, but you know, I also love Primus.
Yeah, okay.
Fucking-
Okay.
As Primus fans say, Primus sucks.
Yeah.
That's like the in joke.
Yeah,
But I
but-
fucking love them. You know, and like I also listen to my own friends' musics, like songs and all that. Like Mount Sinai is a band that I'm friends with.
Okay, cool.
Love their music. Brett's music, I love.
Dude, the melting pot of music in this area
Yeah.
is just it's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm listening to my friends' music all the freaking time.
Oh,
That's the
yeah.
thing. Like, I'm such a fan of some of this. Like, even like someone like Brett. Like, I'm
Yeah.
such a fan of like Root Shakedown, the stuff that he does, the Spread the Dub Boys, like all the individuality
Yep.
stuff. It's
Yep.
it gets obsessive too, but it's also like inspirational.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's also just nice to be like, have other creative friends that like, sure, they're not doing what I'm doing, but they're still artists in their own right and can appreciate
And supportive.
and supportive. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so like, you know, I mentioned Mount Sinai, good friends of mine. I see those guys often, like, you know, there's actually quite a few pictures of their drummer Lou, who I hang out with a lot on my
Okay.
Instagram.
There's some photos you posted recently of like
Billy Doom is Dead and
Dude, you have
Suicide
Billy's the shit,
Bombers.
yeah.
Yeah, Suicide Bombers released an album the other day.
Okay.
Last Friday, and I went to their album release, not to be a photographer, just
Yeah.
to support them, because I like them.
But you had your camera.
And I'm
with
friends
you.
with them. Always have the
Yeah,
camera
of course,
with me.
always. David.
You know, when am I not going to? So, but, you know, it was a good time. I love their music, too. I listen to their music. Billy Doom is Dead. I also listen to their music, too. So,
I've known Billy for like just being in different bands and stuff, and the moment he showed me his original music, it's just so much nostalgia just exploded in my brain of like
Yeah.
the old Tony Hawk Pro Skater
Yes,
like soundtrack stuff.
yes.
I'm like, fuck yeah,
he's awesome.
so sick.
He's so awesome.
Yeah, he played drums for my band for quite a bit.
Oh, I
for a
didn't
little
know
bit,
that. Wow.
My music video, dude, God bless him and God bless everyone in my band. Where I'm like, I had this. So the song I wrote, "Who You Know," it's like who you know that takes you far in life. So just fake it till you make it, sort of thing. I sometimes like songs will just pour out of me from sarcasm. So if I see something, I'm just like, whatever. I'm like, oh, now here's a song. So the whole concept was. The band, we're practicing. We have like this manager come in, tell us like, I got this idea, you should do it like this, and we're like, okay, whatever. And then the manager like holds up banana costumes, and then we're all in a banana suit, so just tatted up badass Billy just on the drum kit, just a whole like with wearing a banana suit. I'm wearing a banana suit. I'm looking around, I'm like, thank you guys for doing this too. Yeah, who you know, music video.
Yeah, he seems like a cool dude. I've never actually like spoken to him in real life.
Dude, he's super cool.
But
dude.
I've
He's
spoken
a
to
top.
him like on Instagram
But
and all
dude,
that.
like
so.
such a photogenic person.
Yeah.
Like I'll have to show you some photos. Like he, when he was first doing his stuff, he had blue hair, had a blue suit. We went out to Mike McCleary's spot out in like Indian River State, out there. We've got some like Airstreams, and that was like, I think it was the first time I was doing an off-camera flash on a portrait shoot. So it was just me running, kind of holding this, doing that, very like editorial style stuff. So I was very like stop, go, had all these like looks and stuff too. It was like some of my favorite photos I've ever taken.
Yeah.
We went on like an old ship also.
Oh, that's awesome.
Dude, but it's like stuff like that. Like you remember, like the whole vibe was really cool. It wasn't stressful. Hanging out with a good friend. Anything music related. I've been playing music since I was 10. So that's just like my constant obsession. So with you, where you're just like, yeah, no, I got invited and it's been a good time.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's good people, good community.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like how could you not?
I mostly go to my own friends' shows. So 1, I'm supporting my friends. 2, I like their music. And then 3, I get to take photos. And I
Yeah.
love doing all that.
Yeah.
And like, sure, I don't always make my own friends pay. Like, I don't always tell my friends to pay me. Like, they'll offer, but like, listen, just give me whatever you want. You don't even have to pay me. It's cool.
Yeah.
So like, but then you also get some people sometimes where they're like, they'll just message you and like, you don't really know them, and they'll go, oh, you know, we're playing in Miami. Love to have you there. Take some photos. I go, okay, my rate's XYZ. They go, oh, maybe next time. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's tough
Yeah.
because I mean, coming up with all your friends and stuff too. But then I mean, this is what I do solely for my income. So that's why I was just like, but then you kind of got to the point with like other projects stuff too, and then also being a musician, kind of know kind of the revenue income stream too, and you want to kind of hook up your friends the best deal possible and stuff too. So that's why it's just like, how can we work together? It's like, okay, cool,
Exactly. If someone asks me to be at their show, and
It's
they're
different.
not someone I'm friends with,
I know.
I'll be like, yeah, for money, I'll be there. But if they're my friends and they're having a show and I want to be there, which I usually do, then I'm just like, bro, put me on the list and we're good.
Dude, it's so different just kind of like coming at your own will, taking a couple photos.
Yeah.
But then compare like when there's transaction different, so you're like, oh, I'm gonna just do the best job that I can because they want me to be there.
Exactly.
So it's different, but still it's also it's unfortunately that that's what makes kind of the world go round.
And like, I don't do photography because I want money. I do photography because I love it, and if I could make money doing it, even better.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, dude, I started doing artsy-fartsy stuff because I want to be so rich. And
Yeah, exactly.
That's why we all do it.
Bro.
We play music and play with cameras.
What do you mean there's no money in art?
You're getting paid?
What are you talking about?
There's no money in the arts?
Yeah. No, so like I'm all right with being a starving artist until I die.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't
Stay
have
hungry.
kids. I'm not married. I
Yeah.
don't have a girlfriend. So like, if I die a starving artist, but I have the respect of people for, things I've created, cool.
Exactly. Well, speaking of that, I kind of want to show you something here.
Oh yeah.
Let's find it real quick.
Forget what page it's on.
Yeah, dude, I had it actually open perfectly, and then I dropped the ball. So, flop. Oh wait, I saw it,
There it is.
dude.
There it is. Our
And
boy.
speaking of
The
Brett,
one and
yeah,
only Brett Staska.
So, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you,
Getting
thank you.
featured in the photography issue of Atlanta Current.
Thank you,
The
sir.
best magazine in South Florida.
I mean, speaking to a fellow contributor to
It's
this
not
magazine
about me, it's
here.
about
I
you.
mean,
But thank you first of all. But dude, that's the best part about community too.
Yeah.
So it's like all the support. I mean, dude, even my buddy Brian Hall, that he did the cover. Brian
yeah,
Hall
that's an awesome
is
cover.
a disgusting photographer. He's so good, and he's so humble.
Yeah.
Oh, he's one of those people. I'm like, fuck you, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good. But dude, talk about this photo with Brett.
It was the 2024 Jupiter Log Jam surf contest, local surf contest, longboard, but I don't think it's like as serious as like some other contests. It's mostly just like Jupiter locals.
Yeah, it's been a thing that's been I very familiar
Right.
with the log jam, yeah.
And so I'd meant to go to the one last year, but I didn't go for whatever reason.
I think
and
it
then,
rained a lot last year.
Well, it also rained this year.
Oh, that's right.
Last year, I think it was nice.
Maybe I'm
They
mixing it up.
canceled the day that it was supposed to be. I had requested off from work, and then I was like sick. I'm going to do the log jam, and then it was raining a lot, so they changed it to like the next weekend, and I couldn't make it. And then this year, I was like, I don't care what's happening. I'm going to be there. I didn't get there right when it started, but I was there for maybe like an hour or two until it ended. But poured rain, pouring down. It was cold. It was rainy. It kind of sucked, but we were all there having fun, huddled under like 3 or 4 tents, and I'm just hanging out with my friends, taking pictures, people enjoying but freezing.
Yeah.
And then Brett was just coming back in from a heat, I guess, and I just snapped a couple pictures of him real quick, and there you go. That's the one that got in. I actually submit like 3 of him and then 2 other pictures of other things, and they chose that one. So,
Dude, it's really
Yeah.
it's some of my favorite things are just capturing people in their natural element.
Exactly.
So it's like that's the thing. Like if just someone doing their thing.
Exactly.
Like I love that. I mean, if I'm like hanging, if I know someone who's a chef, I'm like, dude, I'm a fly on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Don't change anything. I'll just kind of keep you going what you're doing. So that's the thing. When I saw this, I'm like, dude, you really captured it, because I've been shooting Brett for a while too. I've been just and being in the music scene too. Always have my camera and stuff too. And he's that homie that's just like, hey, I got this budget, I got this, you want to do it? Cool. I shot his album cover photo for, not his album cover photo, for his single for Still on My Mind.
Oh, really? I love that picture.
Yeah, I did the music video.
I also love that song,
yeah,
too.
dude, freaking classic. But yeah, so dude, when I saw that, it's dude, I know you captured lightning in the bottle well. So
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that,
dude,
Jake.
it's fun. But so yeah, but even you're talking about like environment stuff too, where it's like it's raining. It's maybe not like the perfect ideal situation, even though
Yeah.
as a photographer, I kind of like when it rains a little
I do
bit
too. And I was lucky. I had just bought the 35 WR f2 from Fuji.
Yeah.
So, and that was my only weather sealed lens that I had. And so, like, this body's weather sealed, that lens is weather sealed. I was like, all right, it gets wet. It should be okay. And I remember at one point, Brian, I think Larrabee is his last name, Grains of Silver Salt on Instagram.
Okay.
He was there too, and like there was like a little gap in between the tents, and rain was falling on my camera, and he's going, "Hey, your camera's getting wet," and I was like, "Yeah, it is. Hey, it's supposed to be weather sealed, so hopefully it'll be all right."
Right.
And he's like, "I don't know, man. I wouldn't take the chance," but everything was fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, no, I got lucky with my camera holding up, I guess.
So a big thing with some people have kind of asked me about this, and it's I don't know. I don't think about it too much, but when doing some photos and like in different environmental spaces with people and whatnot, people are like, oh, there's like a confidence and just kind of like almost like, yeah, like not giving a fuck attitude, or like I don't know what it is, sort of thing. But it's like getting the shot. So seeing you from like shooting a live band at Guanabanas, or just kind of running around the streets of Miami having fun with the camera, or even kind of just like rolling up to Logjam While It's Rain and kind of being getting the shot, sort of thing. Do you kind of have any sort of social anxiety sort of thing, or like how is like your thought process as like you're kind of doing it? For me, sometimes just like I have to get through step 1, 2, and 1, 2 is like just ingrained in my head, and once I kind of get that and get with the flow, it's not so bad.
Once you get in the flow, it's not so bad. But like, when you're with somewhere with friends who know that's what you do, it's not that big of a deal for me, and like they don't really care. They expect me to show up with my camera. Like if I didn't have it, they'd be like, "Everything all right?"
Yeah.
But at like music shows and all that, I do feel like, oh fuck, I'm in the way. Like I don't want to ruin these people's time, and you know, I don't want the band to get mad at me that I'm in the way of everybody. But again, if they didn't want me taking pictures, they would just be like, hey man, don't fucking do that.
But the fact that you even brought that up too, I mean, most people like because I'm on both sides of the lens half the time too. Where on stage, I've seen some photographers like at festival stuff too. I'm like, and they're like, you know, like the pit rule too, right? Where it's like the first 2 songs and you kind of got to move off to the side sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't have to be that way. But the fact that you're just like, yeah, I don't want to be in the crowd's way, and also I don't want the band to think that like I'm just kind of hogging up the space too. So the fact that it's already kind of been said too,
right?
But it's really it's just all the thoughts that kind of go into here, and just kind of beating it through. So I didn't know if you kind of like struggled with that, or just kind of thought in a certain way.
Sometimes, but especially if like I'm not being paid to be there, then I'll try not to be as much in the way, because like they're not paying me. But if they're paying me, then it's gonna be like, sorry people, I gotta get this. And then also for the most part, a lot of people, if you just hold up your camera, they'll let you go through the crowd. So that's also like another thing that I like about being a photographer and having my camera with me, is like I get to go right up to the front of the stage, dude, and have like the best time at the show, because I'm like right there, and no one's gonna be like, what are you trying to do? Get past me, dude. Like, this is my spot. I just go, oh, I'm taking pictures. And they go, oh, okay. Let me through.
Oh, my gosh,
so,
yeah.
But, like, I do try not to be in people's way, and, like, be mindful of the other photographers and all that. And, like, if someone tells me, like, hey, man, like, could you stop getting in the way? I'd be like, oh, my bad, bro. Like, for sure. But if nobody tells me that, I might be a little more in your way.
Has anybody pressed you yet?
Like once or twice.
Yeah.
I've had people be like I was at like an open mic night thing, and that I just like stumbled across, and someone was like, hey man, don't take my picture, before he went on. I was like, all right, cool, you're not getting a picture then. Guess what? Everyone else is gonna look cool, and you're not.
Dude, that's also like the thing with photography. I always say it's like a moral compass too, that I remember I was at the beach shooting like kind of like this sunset sort of thing, like the stars or whatever. And then I was with my wife, and then she's like, oh, I'm like, what? She's like, oh, there's like a family over there to the right. And I look, and like, they're just family, young kids, and one kid is naked. And I'm like, no, I'm
not taking a picture of that, dude.
I'm like packing up and leaving now. Because I mean, risk overweighs the reward there, first of all. Second of all, too, it's like I'm not putting any more anything into this like assumption of a situation sort of thing. So it's like the moral compass is just like a big level of situational awareness. I've had friends, like literally, what time is it right now? It's like noon. Walking down Clematis doing some like just basic street photography, and then people coming up like, hey man, take my picture. It's like, okay, sure. And then they grab the camera, and my buddy's like, let go of my camera. He's like, oh crap, am I gonna get fucking robbed right now?
Dude, I would.
Exactly. So it's but it's stuff like that. It's like having the awareness, but also not having like your crippling anxiety kind of like just defeat any action of you. So I got a personal note for myself. It's like it's something I've gotten better with and kind of struggle with, I guess, sometimes. So there's things like I try to do for myself to kind of like build myself up a little bit, but also things that like, try to stay active for the whole mental health aspect too. And there's things I'm trying to just do, I don't know, like do different things. Like I'm always trying to explore or whatever. So a while ago, I had somebody like who was training for their blue belt asked me to kind of like be a training partner with them.
I think you mentioned this to me.
And I'm just like, okay, yeah. I've had one scheduled fight in my freshman year, and I won because the guy didn't show up. I'm like that, so I'm 1-0 technically. But so anyways, so the guy showed me some stuff, and I was like getting really. I'm like, this is like, I don't know anything. First of all, second of all, this is like pretty cool to learn. And then I'm like, man, maybe I should like find like a jiu-jitsu gym sort of thing. So also, I'm like completely new, out of my comfort zone, and I'm just like, just get in there, try it, whatever, figure it out. So I walk in, kind of like just looking down, trying to make too much, and then I hear, "Hey, Jacob, what's up, dude?" And I look up, and it's you, and I'm like, and I didn't recognize you because you're in a gi, and also you didn't have your camera with you. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I was like so taken like out of left field, but it was so cool to see because like you never know who you're gonna run into.
Right, exactly.
So jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, so I've been doing that since I was like 16.
That's incredible.
So, yeah, I've been doing it a while, and I've been teaching for like 10 years. So I've been training for like 14. I've been teaching for like 10.
Wow.
Yeah, I love it though, and like that comes into like being aware of your surroundings and all that, and like when I'm out shooting and being aware of what's going on around me, and like that photographer's there, that guy's there, like people behind me, this and that.
And it's funny because I'm not looking at you like this guy. Obviously, he knows his jiu-jitsu. I'm like, I looked at this guy. I'm like, he carries himself well. Yeah, he's aware of his surroundings and stuff too. So I always wonder with like what's the makeup of certain people. And then I walked into a jiu-jitsu gym, seeing you choking somebody out. You're like, what's up, dude?
Probably, I think it was during the kids' classes, so you probably saw me beating up some kids. Which
it's choking out
good
some
favorite pastime of mine. I also get paid to do it, so
lovely.
It's great.
So you started when you're 16?
Yeah, so I can tell you the story of how I started doing jiu-jitsu, how I found it. The UFC was free on cable TV back then. Yeah, Spike TV,
right?
I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I do.
I think I'm a little older than you. But I'm 30. I'll be 31 August.
I graduated 2013.
Okay, I only graduated a year above you.
Yeah, we're roughly close. I wasn't allowed to watch UFC. Like I grew up pretty strict.
Well,
so
see,
I played a lot of catch up the last like.
I'm one of 4 children, and I had a TV in my room and a computer. So
fucking flex.
Not much whatever, but so I would watch UFC and be like, this is amazing. Mm-hmm. This is awesome. And then I would look it up on like an infant YouTube, because YouTube was like a little baby back then. They didn't even have ads in the videos. They still had like ads in the sidebar and like
and you can rate videos 5 stars and stuff.
Yeah. It was crazy. Like, but so I would look up UFC, and then I found UFC 1, right? The first UFC where they didn't have any rules other than like don't kick him in the nuts, don't poke him in the eyes, don't do any fish hooks, right? Other than that, grab his hair, break his teeth, whatever you want to do, right? And the fights weren't timed. They would just go until someone gave up or was unable to fight.
It's awesome.
And so Royce Gracie was fighting for the Gracie family, who is the family that kind of developed Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is what they call it. Elio Gracie was his father. Elio Gracie is like the guy in jiu-jitsu. Like when you go into a lot of jiu-jitsu schools and you see like an old guy, bald, with like a red belt on and like picture hanging up above the mats, that's Elio usually. So Royce was fighting and he beats everyone with jiu-jitsu, and I was like, this is amazing. And like Royce, he's tall, like he's in good shape obviously back then, but he wasn't like a giant person full of muscle. He was pretty lanky. Like, no disrespect, Royce, which I hope he doesn't see this, because he'd still beat me up. But so like seeing someone his size take on all these other guys that were giant, like steroids, big beefy dudes, and win, I was like, holy shit, man, I need to learn how to do this. And like, I had never been really bullied, or anything. Like, sure, kids mess with kids all the time. Yeah. And like,
there's teasing, and then there's like actual bullying.
Nothing really too severe. But I never got beat up.
But you had that light bulb moment where you're like, this is something I don't know, and I kind of should know.
I just thought it was amazing. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. I want to learn how to do this. And then I looked it up. There were 2 schools in this area for jiu-jitsu.
Is that Armory?
Armory, and then Harmony Martial Arts Center. And Harmony Martial Arts Center was, and I think it still actually might be, part of the Royce Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Network. And so,
Did Brian Fleck teach? Does that name not ring a bell? It doesn't matter.
No,
Sorry,
yeah.
Continue.
But so like it said on their website that Hoist comes and visits and all that. I was like, well, that's where I'm going. And then, I started training there, and that's where I met the dude who I've learned everything from, Guy. He's actually an orthopedic spinal surgeon, Doctor.
Oh, no way.
Dr. Gaetano Scuderi from the Bronx, right? Who is like a savant, not just in medicine, but also martial arts. And, so I've been training with him since then. And, I've made a lot of good friends from training at Harmony, and some of them I'm still great friends with now. Like the guy who currently owns Harmony now, Alex Black, one of my best friends. Mm-hmm. So, but now I'm teaching at Brazilian Top Team. Mm-hmm. I've been there for forever. So Brazilian Top Team on Indian Town Road, right over there by Hard Exercise Works across the street. But so that's how I ended up here where I am today in front of you.
Yeah, dude, that's great. I like how the Top Team's right next to a jewelry spot.
Yeah.
So in case anything goes down there, everyone just runs out of it. Exactly. Puts them in a rear naked choke.
See, martial arts schools, I feel like are probably one of the, along with like gun stores, are probably one of the least robbed places. Yeah. Because nobody just like goes in and be like, this looks like a good place to steal from.
Right.
All these people who know how to fight. Yeah, let me go try to steal something from here. No, wouldn't happen.
What's something you want to say to somebody if they're thinking about jiu-jitsu, but maybe they're they're scared to do the first two steps like I was?
Well, they just got to find the right school. And, because a lot of schools, I'm not trying to talk bad about all jiu-jitsu schools because they're not all like this.
I've learned from my perspective, some of it's very old traditional martial arts, and some people really like that. And I know a couple people personally that like with Wing Chun and like all this other like really old school martial arts, and they like that. And then some other people are like, I just want to learn the skill.
Right.
And then that's kind of that.
And that's fine. Like, I have students literally that are 4 years old, and I have a student that's 64 years old and didn't start jiu-jitsu until he was in his 60s, and he already had a knee replacement. And he can't even bend his knee fully.
Wow.
Right? So, but it's for everybody. And if you find a good school that's not just a bunch of tough guys looking to beat each other up, you'll be able to learn it. Mm-hmm. As long as you have a mostly functional body, like this guy, his name's Randy. Mm-hmm. His knee only bends like that much, right? So there's some things he can do, some things he can't do. Yeah. And I'm like, that's all right, man. Who cares? Like, do it to the best of your ability, because that's really all you're going against is yourself, right? And I don't do competitions. I don't teach for competitions, It's just like, if anyone wants to learn it,
solely for
you can learn it.
Yeah,
that's promise you.
That's what I like. There's a lot of creativity within that, like related to the individual, like. Dude, I should tell you. Did I tell you about my first after when I saw you, we caught up and then you left and you're like, "What are you doing?" I'm about to do my first class.
I should have stayed. I'm sorry,
dude. No, you shouldn't have. It was kind of funny because my first class. So I came I was the last person to walk in there, and I didn't have a gi or anything, so they gave me a gi.
Yeah.
And I did Taekwondo when I was little, like super little. My dad, actually, that was before my dad started building houses. That was his whole career. He was a Taekwondo instructor, black belt. Like, he traveled and kind of competed and did all that stuff
awesome.
too. Yeah. I got that Greek blood in me. That's kind of But so have a gi. I had trouble putting it on and stuff too. So the woman helped me real quick, and we went out there, and we just kind of ran some drills, whatever, which was cool. And I've done physical combat before, so it wasn't so random to me. And I didn't know the speed with other people too, so I was kind of just trying to play into it. And then one of the instructors, he's really tan or maybe Spanish, I don't know. If you said his name on, he was really helpful, nice. But
what belt was he?
Brown or purple? Because there's the one guy who teaches, and then there's the other guy who kind of helps and walks around.
Yeah.
But he I don't know if he just saw how clueless I was, because he came up to me and then he was kind of helping me with somebody else, and the other person was a yellow belt, I think. But we're going or whatever. But we were doing some drills. And at one point when like it was him on the ground, we're doing some sort of chokes, and like our leg, like the leg was up, and I'm pretty flexible. And the guy didn't know if like I was like choked out already or whatever, so he was like looking. He's like, "You tapping?" To like, no, I'm like I can breathe completely fine. And then I was like, actually help him like move your forearm here, and I'm like, now I can't breathe. Sort of thing. But and also I've seen the memes where it's like that's what you don't want to do in jiu-jitsu, where it's like, bro, put your hand here, and then that's
No, like sometimes that when you're training moves, it's like that where triangle choke, for example, right? You'll have your legs in the wrong spot, but then your partner who you're choking will be like, "Oh, move your legs, a little bit this way."
Yeah.
And then you do it, and then they're like,
yeah.
tapping
so
out.
I was because I was thinking in my head, I'm like, I'm the new guy here. I don't want to be like you kind of fucking call him whatever. But dude, I had a lot of fun. It was good just training for the body too. But then at so in the locker room, and I was like, because it's not my gi, so I was taking it off. And then that same instructor that kind of helped, I asked him, he's like, "Oh, how was your first day?" I'm like, "Dude, loved it. It was great." I'm like, if I can afford it, I'll keep coming back. But I told him like, dumb question, I know. Did I put this gi on right? And like I put the loops on right. He's like, "Bro, you're a white belt." And I'm like, "Oh my god, I got a lot to learn." But it was cool. It's a journey. It's a journey I'm interested in. But it was also humbling at the same time.
Yeah. No, I love jiu-jitsu. I've met so many cool people. Some of my best friends. Some.
Have you shot any jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, actually, it was when I was still shooting film. I shot some like a couple of the kids' classes, but I want to go back and like now that I have my digital camera, I want to shoot some more and use my fisheye lens for it.
Dude,
I think that'd be cool.
I was gonna say doing some media stuff for them, some like whatever would be pretty sick.
I never posted any of the pictures I did from it. Like I got some really great pictures of the kids, like a really cool picture of my coach Gabe, who's my boss, but I want to go do it again. I'm sure he would let me. I just haven't really brought it up. So, but
dude, it's cool. It's cool, man. It was a very surprising thing that when I walked in there and saw you teaching and saw you choking out a bunch of kids. I'm like, who is this wild man?
Yeah.
But you mentioned like original old school YouTube, and I got to show you something.
Oh my god.
Remember this?
Oh my god. I don't think I've ever had one of these.
Do you remember them though?
I've seen this. I feel like I've seen these though. Like, no, I don't remember this so much.
Okay, so I mean, long story short, that is original YouTube from 2006, 2007. Like all the YouTubers had them.
Wow.
I was at my parents' house, and my I think my sister like brought out a bunch of boxes. Like, look at this old iPhone. I'm like, fuck
That's
the old
not
iPhone.
an
I'm like, fuck
iPhone.
the old iPhone. I'm like, what's that?
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, I remember that, and I've been trying to charge it up just to get to work again. And I went on YouTube just to kind of see, and people are still using it, and it has like that like old,
That's
like
wild.
like Dave Days, like YouTube style, like Dave Days. Like Ryan Higa, like first days of Shane Dawson, like that, like the crazy quality. But anyways,
that's dope.
It's a fun little camera. I didn't know if you were familiar with it
No,
at all.
I've never seen, or I feel like I've seen stuff like it. I feel like Joe Greer did a video. If you know who Joe Greer is, a phenomenal photographer, not small time, big time guy.
Maybe on YouTube probably.
But he actually's been on Walkie Talkie too.
Then I've seen it.
I feel like he used one of these once, and like on Instagram, he was like filming stuff with it. But dude, that's super cool.
Yeah,
man.
they're like one of those like original sort of old things. But here's another one I want to show you. This thing.
Oh, I've seen these.
It's pretty fun. It's like an Instagram.
That is actually that's lighter than I thought it would be.
I know. So I've seen the Instagram ad a few times, and then when I was doing work with the Sugar Shack, I think it's
not on.
Yeah. You can turn it on, take a picture, whatever you want.
No, I don't think it's got.
It does. Yeah. I think you hold it down and then it'll turn on. So when I was doing work with the Sugar Shack sessions, Eddie, the guy there, I think had one of those, and he's like, "Yeah, man, dude, they're cool."
Oops, I took a picture back.
I know it's got a funny delay to it, and you just take a bunch. I think I got like 123 on this right now, and then you load it right in there. It's pretty quirky little cameras like that. I don't know if besides like kind of like the fun film cameras, I don't know if anything that you've seen caught your eye.
I've seen those before.
Yeah.
I did a photo walk in Miami, sponsored by like Fuji and Luminar, and one of the dudes there, he obviously had a Fuji camera, but he had also brought that with him. But that's only the second time I've ever seen one in person. So yeah, I've seen them on like Instagram and all that.
Yeah, dude,
they're interesting.
They are interesting. I can show you some photos on my phone that I'm not like, wow, this is so cool. I'm so like out of it with it, but it's for the running gun, something that's just slick and easy. Something like this for video, this for a photo, just to kind of keep. Cool. I gotta get this to work. That's mainly the thing. But
I do appreciate the lo-fi look to things, and and that's I guess one thing I like about film is the lo-fi. Like, not that it can't be sharp and crisp and beautiful, but sometimes it's nice and lo-fi. And when I was shooting film a lot, I'd start shooting black and white because it was much cheaper than color film.
Right.
And then I started shooting Fomapan film, which is very cheap, but it also has quite a bit of grain. It's like relatively sharp, but it's like very grainy. And then I would also push my film too, which is shooting it at 800 and having it developed longer instead of shooting it at like the regular box speed, which then also enhances the grain. Yeah. So some of my photos from that are like very crunchy and grainy, but I love that. Yeah. So, and actually at my friend Alex Black, his wedding, he had photographers, which good, because I don't want to be the wedding photographer. But I had brought a camera with me and I forgot to bring my flash. So shooting black and white film at like 3200, so like rated for 400, so that's like 1, 2, 3 stops push, and they came out very grainy. But some of those pictures, I really love how they turned out. So I don't care if it's got super a ton of grain in it sometimes, because the content of what the picture is and the lighting and all that is what's more important sometimes than like how sharp it is, or getting your settings exactly perfectly right, to me, at least. So, dude, no, exactly.
It says more about the moment. Yeah, captures that very well. But besides you kind of getting published now, kind of being considered a published photographer, where do you want to go from here? What's in the pipeline? What would you like to do with photography?
Well, I always say that like, I really don't want to do any commercial work. Like, not that there's anything wrong with it. Mm-hmm. I respect people who do it. It's not something I do. It's not something I want to do. I just feel like if I were to start doing like weddings or commercial type photography, then it would feel like work to me, and then I wouldn't want to do photography anymore. Right. But I would love to be able to get to a place where I can do the type of shooting that I want to do, and just not even be rich, just make enough money to live off of. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like how like you or Brad or whoever else that we know that is a artist, musician, whatever, and that's their only thing, is that they're a musician, right? Like, not to talk about Brett again, we've mentioned him several times, but like the dude,
sponsored by Brett
Stoska and the Souvenirs. Hey. But the dude surfs all day, and then he goes and plays music at night. What's better than that, dude? Like, he's living the kind of life he wants. Like, sure, does he always want to do this type of gig, that type of gig? Probably not, but like, he's getting paid to play music. Like,
and if someone every single day is living some sort of fairy tale, like, that's not reality. Right. Also, I mean, that's part of like just life in general.
Yeah, like, I don't want, and maybe this is unrealistic of me to view it this way, but like, I don't want my life to just be working all the time just so I can afford to do my hobbies, or afford to be alive, right? Because that sucks. Who wants to freaking work all the time? Not me, bro. So, which maybe that's a little lazy of me, but
no, but there's truth behind that, because it's like, yeah, say you are a wedding photographer because you're like, you know what, I need to make money, and I can just do the wedding stuff. And I'm not knocking that industry at all, because it's such a hustle and a complete beast of its own. That's why I tell people, like, I'm not a wedding photographer. I'd rather me suggest somebody who is, that can give you the best service for the best budget that you have. But for you to be like, yeah, I'm doing that, and it's not really what you want to do. It's not feeding your soul, and it's
Yeah.
just for a financial earning. It's there. It's different. And I have that relationship with certain gigs and music and stuff too, where I've like worked myself to the point where I'm like, okay, now I can say no to things I'm
Right.
not really that stoked on
Right.
compared to the stuff that I am stoked on. I'm confident and happy to say like where I'm at today. I'm very happy with the stuff I'm able to do.
Exactly. And so like I just want to be able to get to a place where I'm doing the type of stuff that I want to be doing and making enough money to live off of it.
Do you know what that is yet?
Um
Because it's
Not exactly.
It's stuff like this. It's stuff that I see on your page where I can see you. I mean, dude, even fucking like Elena Curran, if they like are looking for journalistic photographers,
Yeah,
like
that would be cool.
You're very easy to talk to.
I would
sit
like to
down,
do-
doing an interview, take some photos, do some sort of blog, anything with a Palm Beach
Exactly.
Post. I can see you doing something like that.
Exactly. No, I would love to do some sort of like photojournalistic work, or I've considered starting a blog many times and then just need to go. I had started a trial for Squarespace and like filled out the about me on like what was going to be my website, and then I just never finished it and the trial ran out.
Yeah.
But I need to get back to it. So, but one thing I would also like to do is apply, like actually have a website and a portfolio, and then apply for like artist residencies or artist grants and things like that to help me get to a place where I can start living off of what I want to be making and not having to make things to live, but I'm living things, or I'm living to create. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I hope that makes sense. The way I put
Dude,
that, but
absolutely does.
because that's what makes me happy, and I don't, the less time I get to spend doing this, the more it sucks, and the more time I get to spend doing this, the happier I am. So like I don't know, maybe it's the curse of like being an artistically minded type of person, but like, how do I put it? Like just the idea of just going to work all the time, or like a 9-to-5 job, or I'm a server at a restaurant around here, and like it's a good restaurant. It's probably the best job I've ever had, except for maybe teaching jiu-jitsu, because I've worked a bunch of other crappy jobs and made way less money and worked way longer hours. But it's not what I want to be doing. It's just what I'm doing right now, right? So, but then also goes back to like calling yourself a photographer and all that. Like, yes, I work at a restaurant as a server, but I'm not a server. I am a photographer, or I am a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach, and I'm just doing this because I need money.
Dude, exactly. I mean, it's the same thing where I heard someone even say the conversation being in an Uber where someone's like, yes, I am driving you as an Uber driver, but I own a startup tech business, and this is me. This is me for so long. This is just what I'm doing right now. It's like, doesn't really, because I remember like some of my first jobs were landscaping and just all manual labor stuff all through high school. Yeah. And I kind of in the back of my head thought like, this might be the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. And also in the back of my head, I thought, I'm like, man, I better, because like all the old heads on the job sites are just be like, you better stay in school, or like you'll be like this for like forever. Mm-hmm. But like they put some sort of like weird pre-notion in my head where I'm like, is that going to be failure? Like that. But also I know people who are very well respected people that work in the landscaping industry and stuff too. And it's an incredible field, and it's an incredible skill that they have too as well. So it's kind of like the most that you make it, and also have a way better appreciation of working with my hands, working with people in certain ways too, in different environments. So when it comes to just like making a dollar and just working and just being around people, and also what identifies yourself too, it doesn't have to always be attached to a dollar.
Right, exactly. And then again, on calling yourself like an artist or whatever you are, back when I used to do bookbinding a lot. I don't know if you knew that.
What's book?
Like literally making journals by hand and like sewing them together and all that. That's actually how I started like becoming friends with Destiny. Was we had talked over that, and she bought a journal from me. Yeah,
that's awesome.
But back when I was doing that a lot, one of my friends from jiu-jitsu, who's older than me, his girlfriend Hillary Parker is a watercolor artist, and she's very good, and she has stuff like all over the world, and she's sold many paintings, and they're all over in hotels and this and that, whatever. But we were at another friend's house party for like the new year, and me and her were talking, and she's like, you need to call yourself an artist, because, and like, basically kind of just saying, once you start calling yourself that, other people will start calling you that, and then other people, and then you believe it more and they believe it more. So you call yourself a photographer, other people will call you a photographer and say, hey, this is Dan, he's a photographer. Not, oh, this is Dan, or oh, this is just Jake. Oh, this is Jake, he's a photographer, videographer, musician, all around awesome guy. So, you gotta, for people who are like aspiring to be something, yeah, of course it kind of like, you feel weird at first calling yourself something when you don't really feel confident in your skills, or, whatever. Like, even now, there's times where I go like, oh yeah, I'm a amateur photographer because professionals make money, but, call yourself it. Like,
but the thing is,
it's
now
like,
you can call yourself a published
that's
photographer.
True. That's true.
I mean,
that's true.
That's the thing. With me, I can call myself a internationally published photographer because there's stuff I've done that's been printed, it's been sold around the world.
Exactly.
So it's kind of how you frame it, but it's almost how like you identify it for yourself. It's like how you like. It's always up to. I mean, you at the end of the day, waking up, looking yourself in the mirror, and just being like, "This is." It's up to you. Mm-hmm. How you're going to kind of carry the day and carry yourself, mm-hmm. and it has that ripple effect. But I really like the fact that you mentioned like that someone said you have to call yourself an artist, because I've always had this back pull thing where it's like, especially this like the industry of being a content creator versus an artist. I feel like there is a difference between mm-hmm. creator and artist.
Right. That's how I feel with like Instagram and all that. I post my stuff on Instagram not because I'm trying to get a bazillion, gazillion, whatever Instagram followers mm-hmm. to make money off my Instagram followers and like market to them and this and that. I use Instagram just so more people can see my stuff, and then I can gain opportunities from somebody viewing my work, right? I feel like the difference between being an artist and a content creator, where your focus is to make money off of your social media, then I would consider you a content creator, which is fine. That's fine. It's something I don't know how to do and something I don't want to do either. So like, but like you asked me to make a reel, I feel like an old person. I'm like, I don't know how to make a reel. I don't know how to make a cool reel that'll get that'll go viral. Nope. I just post pictures. Not a single reel on my Instagram, right? But, but then you could use Instagram like how I'm doing it, where you're just using it as a vehicle to get your stuff out there to the world. And I'm not necessarily trying to make money from Instagram or social media. I just want more people to see it, because the more people that see it, the more opportunities I'll get, So like, that's how I feel. And not that you need social media to become a photographer or an artist or something like that, but I feel like in today's day and age where you can get such a reach with social media, and it's so prevalent in society that
it's free.
And it's free. Exactly. It's free.
Well, actually correct that. It comes with a cost of something, but
yes.
It's not a financial cost out of your direct pocket.
Right.
Because my unpopular opinion is nothing is free in this world.
Nothing is free.
It comes as a cost or as a gift from something else.
Exactly.
But
right.
Exactly. Utilizing the tools in front of you to uplift with what you're doing. So that's why, like, originally, kind of going back to my question of where does this take you now? What do you want to do?
Mm.
What are your plans as a photographer?
I mean, I hopefully just be able to get to a point where I don't have to be working at a restaurant anymore. I just want to create more photos that people like, mm-hmm. and just being able to take more of what I like to do, and just, I don't know, just take pictures. That's all I want to do, is just keep going out there, taking pictures, teaching jiu-jitsu, and then that's about it. I'd love to get something in a museum, or, get hired by like a big company, or, whatever, like Time Magazine to shoot some sort of, story for them or whatever. But that's hopefully further down the pipeline. And I'm just looking at like, okay, well, you know what? It's great to aspire for these things up here, but there's a whole journey in between here and there that I have to figure this next step out before I can get to this step up here. At least that's maybe how I feel. Maybe walk before you run sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's different than how other people plan things out or view things or whatever, but it's like, you know, one step at a time. One step at a time. I'm just going to keep focusing on making good photos and, you know, getting better at photography, because I've only been doing photography for like 2 years, you know. Did a whole year of just shooting film, and then it got really expensive, and then and then I spent more money and bought a digital camera, but now I don't have to pay to get film developed anymore unless I want to. So
I mean, your answer there is like exactly how I view your work. It's if you told me like, yeah, this is exactly what I'm going to do, this, but instead you're kind of like, it's one step at a time, one day at a time,
Yeah.
because, and it's something I'm slowly learning. You can't really plan life. Life
Yeah.
just kind of happens. You can prepare for it though. So just taking the proper steps into that way. That's why, like I love your work, and I love what you do. I love the energy that you kind of put into it too as well, and the passion as well. Because I mean, I know people are just picking up a camera now because they think they can make money doing it, and then I can also kind of sniff that bullshit out compared to people who are like, this is my passion, this is kind of what I do, this is what I live and breathe, regardless of if it's raining, if it's shining, if people are looking. Because I always say at the end of the day, like, could you imagine if the government, and they probably will one day, it just shuts down social media and the internet, just like that?
Yep.
Are you still going to act and do the same things that you kind of do?
Photos.
I'm still going to take photos. You know,
What
my
am I
market.
gonna not take pictures?
Dude,
like
my PR advertising, you're going to see every billboard with every client that I'm working with. You're going to see it somehow, because that's exactly kind of the way I'm doing it. But dude, I literally could talk about this all damn day.
Same
but
here.
To kind of bring it home, it's something I like to ask people at the end. I'm like, if someone listened to this whole conversation and then just kind of skipped right to the end, or maybe if they listened to the whole conversation and there's like one major takeaway you want to kind of give out of everything we talked about today, what would it be?
If there's something you want to do, just do it. I mean, as long as it's, you know, not illegal or harming somebody. But if you're scared to start something, just try it. You don't have to get the most expensive gear right away, right? Like, this is a Fujifilm X-T3. It's old. We're on the X-T5 now. It's got like a 40 megapixel sensor, right? But you don't need to buy the X-T5. Buy what you can afford and just do it. And, you know, you don't have to go to school for it necessarily. I didn't go to school for photography. I didn't even go to college, right? But there's so much stuff on the internet to learn about. There's, you know, so many people to communicate with, to learn from, and, you know, to come up with ideas for things. And so, you know, just if you want to learn jiu-jitsu, do it. Find the right place to do it at. You know, don't disqualify yourself, because that's another thing with jiu-jitsu too, is people always, like when you're teaching, you always have to be encouraging to them. Even if they've done it 10 times and each time they've still done it wrong and you've tried to correct them 10 times, don't keep telling them they're doing it wrong. You just go, hey, excellent job. Because they're looking for a reason to disqualify themselves, right? And so, but the thing is, it's okay to be bad at it in the beginning, which like is something I struggle with too, is if I'm not good at something right away, I'm just like, screw this, it's not for me. But sometimes you just got to persevere and just be like, hey, you know what? I really like it though, so I'm going to keep doing it. Even though I'm kind of not so great at it, who cares, right? Don't worry about comparing yourself to others. Focus on comparing yourself to how you were 6 months ago. Or like, you know, if you did jiu-jitsu for 6 months and you got in a fight with Jake from before he started doing jiu-jitsu, you would kick that guy's butt. You know what I mean? Like, sure, you've only been doing it for 6 months, but that's still better than no experience at all. So, I don't know, just if there's something you want to do, just go do it. Don't be afraid of it. It's, you know, I've been afraid of doing things in my life, and it's something that holds you back from being the person that you really want to be, or that you might not even know who you want to be, and it holds you back from discovering that. So just do it. If you want to do something and it looks like you really have a passion for it, just do it. Try it out, you know?
I think the comparisons, the whole thief of joy conversation is
exactly.
such a real thing, but comparing it to your old self, I think that is like the only real comparison you should, the healthy comparison actually should have.
That's what I tell my students. Don't compare yourself to me, who's been doing it for 14 years, who's 30. If you're 40 and you just started, or you're 50 and you just started, that's not a fair comparison. I started as a teenager, and you're starting as 40-year-old with 2 kids. Like, you can't make that comparison, But one day you could be as good as me at it and proficient as me. It just takes time. And not that I'm the best ever, but like, I'm just saying, like, you look to the guy next to you, to your right and to your left, you were that guy once with the white belt, and you'll be that guy with the purple belt or girl or whatever if you just keep training. You just keep going. Like, one thing with jiu-jitsu, this is something somebody told me when I was a kid, and I tell it to all my students, young and old. I tell this to everyone. We were leaving a jiu-jitsu class one Saturday morning, and he goes, "Hey, Danny." He's older than me. He's like in his 60s now, but he was probably like in his 50s then. He goes, "Hey, Danny, you want to know the secret to jiu-jitsu?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, what is it?" He goes, "Keep coming to class." But he's right. The more you do it, the better you'll be. And that's how I am with photography too. Like, I just want to go take pictures because I know the more I do this, the better I'm going to get at it. So,
yeah, it's like showing up for yourself. That's my buddy Ethan would always say, just show up for yourself.
That's right.
You got to show up for yourself. But,
that's right.
Dude.
I hope that makes sense, all I
Dude,
said.
it makes a lot of sense. Freaking